Hey, my name is Carl, and this is just a demo of demonstrating GitOps pipelines with Ansible Automation Platform. Specifically, if you want to lift and shift from something like AWX or Ansible Tower to AAP, and this is just to demonstrate the DR situation or a source code first type way of managing something. And yeah, I would love to take you through this. So, firstly, here's our automation platform. Ours is running on our test OpenShift environment. At the moment, it's a stock standard deployment. There is nothing specified here on the AAP, just a basic local host demo project, nothing too major. Here is the variables that we're going to use in our specific Git pipeline. We're using GitLab today to trigger that. And here's our pipeline. It's fairly simple. The first thing that happens is that we are going to go and lint the code to go and see if things are fine. And secondly, we're going to go and trigger an Ansible playbook in the pipeline to run against our specific endpoint with the variables that's defined here. So if we quickly jump in here, I will quickly show you some source code that we're going to try and do. We love Star Trek, so we're going to try and deploy an instance with all that specific goodness in there. And here's our pipeline again. And yeah, here's a trigger job for including the customer list. And the customers are defined here, discovery, deep space, and then it will go do and trigger each specific test or task that's going to happen running against that specific instance. So first thing that we're going to go do is we're going to say love from Obsidian and Friends exclamation mark, right? So we're going to just save this specific repo. I'm going to add it and we're going to say hello commit, and then we push it up. So the first thing that we're going to go and do is in our specific interface is that we are going to go and see that Ansible lint is running against our code. So what this means is that it scans it to see if it's compliant. If we're using bad things, these things will not get replicated at scale against our AAP, right? The job is succeeded, and we'll just wait a few seconds, and then we should get a green check mark to say that things are fine. Cool, there we go. Then what happens is the next one, it's running the Ansible playbook against the instance. This is going to take about 10 minutes or so to run. But it is fairly complicated in the way that it's going to go and trigger specific jobs against that instance. And while that instance is running, I'll take you through the code to show exactly what is happening, and so that you could try and implement it for yourself, or could give us a ring and we can help you build it for yourself for your infrastructure. So obviously the container is spinning up right now, so it's a good time for us to just go in and start discussing the code. So you will notice here from a structure point of view is that there is an Ansible assembler type playbook within the specific play, right? So there's tasks, we're including the vars here of the specific directory, and then we include this role, and here is the role defined clearly here with some survey files and some other things. So the first thing that happens is, and let's just see if our thing is triggering. Yes, it's busy reading all our variables, right? It's busy creating, what is it creating now? Oh, customer labels, organizations. So let's just go here under organizations. Okay, so our organizations is now busy getting created. And let's see, it's still running. Okay, it's created a few credentials for us as well. Let's go in there, quickly show the credentials. Still no templates, no projects, nothing. Oh, there is a first project. Oh, the projects are busy coming in. Right, so there's a default wrapper playbook. In these specific repo, there's a bit of wrappers, a ping one and a gather facts one and things like that. So it's continually running against those things. while it's importing our different inventories for each of the specific customers, right? So we still have a demo inventory. That linking is going to link later back to the specific inventory when it comes to the projects that we've imported. So the project's source code, everything is managed in Git, is then linked to the specific inventories, and then the inventories will then populate the hosts. But as you can see, the credentials are here that we're basically going to go and work on. So moving back to our code, this is basically just initializing the configuration, telling us how to connect, should it validate the certificates, things like that. Second thing is managing and adding the credentials. Next, it's adding our projects, but it's iterating over a list of items. And if you look at our main playbook, that item list is the customers, right? So when that specific project gets triggered, each of those customers would then have an inventory specifically for that, and then that wrapper playbook would get referenced in. Here we reference the inventories. These inventories, as you can see, is specified also in Git, but it's referenced from a project, right? So the inventory is here, and you can see here it's part of our armada, right? Because it's a set of starships. So when we go back to our summit and we go to our armada list, you will see that here's a bunch of repositories that's listed in here. So here's next generation. Here is a beautiful list of starships that's defined with which galaxy, which ship class it is, who's the captain, and then the groups are defined here. We've built these structures we've built with Copilot. Copilot's been really helpful for us on this. And then here is Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine is one of the favorites. Here's a different kind of structure, but also kind of class and role specific to those structures. So it's just a different type of inventory as well. You can also include innies or normal YAMLs that shouldn't really make a difference. All right. So where are we here? Okay, so the inventories have been created for the different organizations, and what we're busy doing is we are linking those Git inventories to those specific organizations. So how that would look is something like this. So the inventories are getting linked in here. If we reload, remember Voyagers should probably be coming in now. There we go. Here's the Voyager inventory, and as soon as that is done, now it's going to go in and create job templates. So if we quickly click here, here's our first discovery job template that's been created. And remember, these things just reference the default wrapper repo that we've included. So you don't have to add multiple different repos within your instance, because that creates cruft. The problem is if you have different forks of different kinds of repos, there's drift in the code as well, and you want to have a defined code that's running specifically from a specific place, right? So here it's busy creating the Deep Space Nine ping and the Deep Space gather facts. So let's just browse back to the templates again, and here we go. So reload. The beautiful thing is that it's idempotent. So if something changes, it will only do the diff, and it will only do the difference between the one that's there and that. The only thing that when you rerun the specific playbook is that credentials are always run again, because when you set a credential, because of the secret nature of that credential, you won't be able to see what the password is or the SSH key. So you can't see those things through the API, and that's a security feature within AAP where you can't see those credentials. So it just naturally just overwrites that credential. So it's a safety point of view. From a safety point of view, that's pretty cool. Now there should be 13, I think, templates because of the demo template, and there being 6 different organizations, and each one having two different ones. So we're just waiting for Voyager ping and Voyager gather facts to come in, and that should be here. Right, cool. So the next thing that's happening is that I think we're going to go and trigger, yes, we're starting to create users on the instance. So we're adding specific users to the different organizations as well. So Charles Tucker is from Star Trek Enterprise. So let's go to organizations. And you should see here under Enterprise, there's 3 users already. And we can click here, under Access. And you can see that now there's 4. And now it's getting obviously populated with all that specific details as well. And here's the email address, Charles Tucker at starfleet.planets. His username, and he's a normal user. And you can manage those specific things using Ansible as well. When we move back to our specific playbook on how those users are getting created, it's fairly straightforward. They password Starfleet 1024. We're iterating over a list again, and we're generating an email address over that specific starfleet.planets and then adding it to an org. When we look at that main variables file, you'll see how that is constructed, right? So Charles Tucker is here, he's part of Starfleet, his name and his org. And then later you could probably allocate role or a specific team for that user as well. And then you can iterate over those lists as well. So that's the last stage of our specific play. I think we're adding about 50 users. So just quickly go through that list again. It's a bit, in retrospect, I got a little carried away, but I really enjoy building these things. So yes, let's click here on users. So currently we have 19 users in the system. Here's Wesley Crusher. His organization is obviously Next Generation because he's there. And then here we go. So the users, 21 users at the moment. So our playbook's continuing to run. We're basically 9 minutes in right about now. We're with ID 78, so there's still quite a bit of users to go. I don't know. I can't exactly remember. But yes, it's very exciting. So let's quickly talk about inventories, right? So these inventories haven't been synced through, and I actually just want everything to run through directly for everything to work. So these inventories don't have anything yet. But what happens is as soon as you start triggering, like example, the ping for Deep Space Nine, what will happen is this is automatically linked to the Deep Space Nine inventory. So when you launch that specific job, that job will then sync the latest version of the inventory down. And if you look here at the sources, it's sourced from the project, but there's no SHA yet. And what happens is that then as soon as you sync here, and you can see these inventories are added as source control updates, but they haven't synced through yet. So let's just see here. So there's changed. So let's just quickly have a look here at the job here for Voyager's inventory details. Okay, let's go here. Voyager, hosts, nothing. It's just made a reference to that. It hasn't actually synced anything down. But we will sync that through now. So we're here with, okay, this is Christopher Pike. Oh my gosh, I just remembered we didn't have a original series here. So if you're a Star Trek fan, I'm sorry. When I saw that Spock and Christine Chapel, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to add that. Anyway, but okay, so let's, I don't care. Let's just sync this. I'm pretty excited to show you this. So let's hit the sync button. What happens is there is an inventory here that is now getting synced down, right? And we can click here while the job is running. And this is running because everything is from a single source of truth, in this case, really source code. There's our inventory getting parsed. And let's just quickly see here. Where are we now? And inventories, Deep Space Nine, groups, hosts. Here we go. Here's our hosts. They've been imported. There's no groups defined in this one, so I'll rather show you something that's nicer. Let's just go in and see Next Generation. And we can do the same there. We can sync that from the project. And obviously that job's getting triggered in here. And as soon as that is done, we can go through to the host. You can see here, here's the hosts. Here's the USS defined. Here's the Deep Space Nine one. So when we click here again, and our job has been finished syncing, let's just go here, next generation, click on hosts. Here's our hosts. Here's the related groups to those specific hosts. Sources is here as well. And then you can see that successful job was synced over there. And then when we click back on the hosts, here's the next generation hosts also being in here. Okay, so our job is done. Sorry, 12 minutes, 21 seconds for everything. And that is just a quick overview of how we think is the best way to go and manage machines using Ansible with source code at the backing everything. And then yes, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as we tried to build it for you. So yeah, have a good day and have a good summit.